She was fired for caring for an elderly man. The next day she became hospital director. Maya Collins held the hand of the man in the light blue shirt firmly when she heard hurried footsteps approaching down the corridor. The elderly man had arrived alone at St. Jude's Medical Center in New York City with chest pains, but had been ignored by the staff for over 3 hours. That's when Dr. Sterling Vance burst into the room, his face red with anger. "Maya, what are you doing here?" shouted the chief of staff, pointing his finger toward the young nurse. "I'm taking care of Mr. Arthur, doctor. He's showing concerning signs," she replied, not letting go of the patient's hand. Dr. Vance stepped closer, his eyes blazing with fury. "You abandoned the patients in the executive wing to waste time with who? With an old man who doesn't even have complete paperwork." Maya felt the squeeze in the hand of Mr. Arthur Harrison, a man of about 70 with graying hair and kind eyes that expressed a deep sadness. She had noticed something strange in his heart rhythm during the initial triage, but when she tried to get the medical team's attention, everyone was busy with out-of-pocket patients. "Doctor, with all due respect, he is presenting with arrhythmia. He needs urgent tests," insisted Maya, looking directly at the chief of staff. "Urgent?" Dr. Vance let out a dry laugh. "Do you know how much an electrocardiogram costs? An echocardiogram? And how is he going to pay for it? With promises?" Mr. Arthur tried to sit up on the gurney. "Miss, you don't need to worry about me. I can wait." "You will not wait at all," interrupted Maya, helping him lie back down. "Dr. Vance, I authorize the tests myself." The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Vance looked at Maya as if she had completely lost her mind. "You authorize?" he repeated, his voice low and dangerous. "Have you forgotten your place here, Maya?" The 28-year-old nurse had worked at St. Jude's Medical Center for 5 years. She was known for her dedication to patients, always arriving earlier and leaving later than her colleagues. Her mother, Mrs. Evelyn, had also been a nurse and always said that caring for people was a mission, not just a job. "My place is beside those who need medical care, doctor," replied Maya, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Dr. Vance turned to Mr. Arthur. "Do you have private insurance, out of pocket, a credit card?" The elderly man shook his head, embarrassed. "I only have my public health card, doctor." "Well, there you have it. Maya, you return to your paying patients right now, or what?" she interrupted him. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us, who are just starting out, now continuing." Dr. Vance took a deep breath, trying to control his anger. "Or you're fired." The words echoed through the room. Maya felt the world spin for a moment. She had bills to pay. She helped her mother with diabetes medication, and a nurse's salary was already tight. "Doctor, you can't be serious," she murmured. "I am very serious. You have 10 seconds to leave this room and return to your work." Mr. Arthur tried to intervene again. "Miss, please, don't lose your job because of me. I really can wait." Maya looked at the elderly man. There was something in his eyes that touched her deeply, a loneliness, a resignation she had seen in many patients abandoned by their families. But there was also a quiet dignity, a strength that seemed to contradict his apparent fragility. "Don't worry, Mr. Arthur, I will take care of you." Dr. Vance slammed his fist on the table next to the gurney. "Maya Collins, you are officially suspended. Hand over your badge and leave this hospital immediately." "Wait," said Mr. Arthur, trying to sit up. "Doctor, the young lady was just doing her job." "Her job is to follow my orders," shouted Dr. Vance, "and not waste time with patients who don't bring revenue to this hospital." Maya took the ID badge from her uniform pocket, but before handing it over, she leaned toward Mr. Arthur. "Do you promise you'll seek medical help if you feel anything strange? Chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness?" The elderly man nodded, his eyes welling up. "I promise, dear. And thank you so much for everything." Dr. Vance snatched the badge from Maya's hand. "Get out of here before I call security." Maya picked up her bag and walked toward the door. In the hallway, she found several colleagues who had witnessed the argument. They all looked down, fearing retaliation from the head doctor. "Maya," whispered Daisy, a younger nurse, "you shouldn't have done that." "I did what I had to do," replied Maya, wiping away a tear that insisted on escaping. She walked through the hospital corridors for the last time, carrying the weight of the decision she had made. In the parking lot, she sat on a bus stop bench and called her mother. "Mom, I lost my job." "What? What do you mean, dear?" Maya told Mrs. Evelyn everything, who listened in silence on the other end of the line. "You did the right thing, Maya," her mother said finally. "Your father would be proud." Maya's father had passed away when she was 15. He was an ambulance driver and always said that saving lives was the most important job in the world. That night, Maya could barely sleep. She kept thinking about Mr. Arthur, wondering if he was okay, if anyone had taken care of him after she left. She also thought about how she would pay the bills, how she would get another job with the negative reference she would certainly receive from Dr. Vance. The next morning, around 7 o'clock, the phone rang. It was a number Maya didn't recognize. "Hello, Maya Collins," said a formal male voice. "Yes, speaking. This is the administrator of St. Jude's Medical Center. Could you come to the hospital today at 9 o'clock? It's urgent." Maya felt her stomach turn. "Is this about yesterday? Look, I don't want to cause any trouble. Just please come. Main lobby." The call ended. Maya got ready with her heart racing. Maybe Dr. Vance wanted to humiliate her again, or perhaps there was some legal issue regarding her attitude with the patient. When she arrived at St. Jude's Medical Center, Maya was startled by the activity in the main lobby. There were several people in suits, some with cameras, others with clipboards. It looked like some kind of corporate event. "Maya," called Daisy, running toward her. "You won't believe what's happening." "What is all this?" "It's about the old man from yesterday. Mr. Arthur." Before Daisy could explain, a man in a suit approached. "Miss Collins, I'm Dr. Julian Hayes, General Administrator of the hospital network. Could you come with me?" Maya followed the man to the center of the lobby, where a small stage was set up. To her surprise, there was Mr. Arthur, but now wearing an impeccable dark suit, surrounded by people who looked important. "Mr. Arthur?" she murmured, confused. The elderly man smiled when he saw her and stepped down from the stage. "Maya, my dear, I'm so glad you came. I don't understand. What's happening here?" "Well," said Mr. Arthur, adjusting his glasses, "I suppose I need to introduce myself properly. My name is Arthur Harrison, and I am the owner of this hospital network." Maya felt her legs go weak. She looked around and saw Dr. Vance at the back of the lobby, his face pale as paper. "You are—" "What?" "The owner," repeated Mr. Arthur. "I bought this network 2 years ago after my wife, Mrs. Martha, passed away due to medical negligence at another hospital." Arthur's words echoed through the hall. Maya tried to process the information, but everything seemed unreal. "I don't understand," she stammered. "Maya, I make anonymous visits to my hospitals regularly. I want to see how patients are really treated, not how they pretend to treat them when they know the boss is present." Mr. Arthur signaled for everyone to gather closer. "Yesterday I witnessed something that made me both very proud and very ashamed at the same time," he continued, his voice louder so everyone could hear. "Proud because I found a professional who put a patient's well-being above her own job security, and ashamed because I discovered my hospital was being run by someone who discriminates against patients based on their financial status." Dr. Vance tried to approach, but Mr. Arthur ignored him completely. "For the last 2 years, I have been discreetly visiting every unit in this network. I've seen many good things, but also many concerning situations. Yesterday was the last straw." He turned to Maya. "This young woman risked her job to care for a stranger. She didn't know who I was, didn't expect anything in return. She acted simply because it was the right thing to do." Maya was still in shock. "Mr. Arthur, I was just doing my job." "No, my dear. You did much more than that. You reminded me of the reason I bought these hospitals." Mr. Arthur addressed everyone present. "When my Martha passed, I swore I would do everything so no family would go through what I went through. She arrived at the hospital with chest pains, but was ignored because she didn't have private insurance. When they finally attended to her, it was too late. Dear listener, If you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The silence in the hall was absolute. Maya felt tears streaming down her face, thinking of her own experience with the loss of her father. That is why, continued Mr. Arthur, I'm announcing today some important changes in this hospital network. First, I am creating the position of Director of Patient Advocacy and Quality of Care. He looked directly at Maya. And I would like to invite Miss Maya Collins to fill this position. The hall erupted in murmurs. Maya felt like she was going to faint. I don't, she stammered. Maya, said Mr. Arthur, taking her hands, you showed yesterday exactly the kind of leadership this institution needs. Someone who doesn't bend under pressure, who stands up for what's right. Dr. Vance could no longer contain himself and approached the group. Mr. Harrison, with all due respect, Miss Collins is just a nurse. She doesn't have the training for an administrative role. I have 20 years of experience, credentials, specializations. Mr. Arthur turned to him, his gaze icy. Dr. Vance, that is exactly what we need to talk about. The Chief of Staff swallowed hard. Doctor, during my visit yesterday, I witnessed you cancel tests for a patient with a suspected heart condition to prioritize a businessman with a headache. Does that seem ethical to you? I was following efficiency protocols. Efficiency? Mr. Arthur's voice rose. Doctor, efficiency shouldn't mean ignoring patients who might be having a medical emergency. Daisy, who was nearby, timidly stepped forward. Mr. Harrison, may I speak? Of course, my dear. Yesterday, after Maya left, Dr. Vance gave me the tests she had requested for you and told me to throw them in the trash. The silence that followed was disturbing. Dr. Vance paled even more. That's not true. I have the papers, said Daisy, pulling some crumpled documents from her bag. I took them from the trash because I thought it was wrong. Mr. Arthur took the papers and examined them. His expression turned serious. These tests show significant arrhythmia and signs of heart failure. If it hadn't been for Maya's insistence, I could have had a heart attack during the night. Everyone present looked shocked at Dr. Vance. Doctor, continued Mr. Arthur, you almost caused the loss of a life due to social prejudice. That is unacceptable. Dr. Vance tried to defend himself. Mr. Harrison, I follow strict care protocols based on... Based on what? On the patient's ability to pay. Another employee approached. It was Thomas, a nursing technician who had worked at the hospital for over 10 years. Mr. Harrison, may I speak as well? You may, Thomas. Dr. Vance has an unofficial prioritization scheme. Patients with premium private insurance are seen immediately, even when they arrive after more serious public health service cases. Mr. Arthur looked around the room. Does anyone else have something to report? An older nurse, Mrs. Mildred, spoke up. Mr. Harrison, I've worked here for 15 years. I've seen a lot of things change for the worse. Dr. Vance has created an environment where anyone who questions his decisions is targeted. Maya wasn't the first to be fired for trying to do the right thing. How so? Last year, Nurse Kevin was fired because he insisted on doing proper dressings for a diabetic public health service patient. Dr. Vance said he was using too much material. Mr. Arthur turned to his administrator. Dr. Julian, I want a complete audit of all terminations from the last 2 years, and I also want a review of all patient care protocols. Dr. Vance tried one last gambit. Mr. Harrison, I can explain all of this. They are misunderstandings, misinterpretations. Doctor, Mr. Arthur interrupted him, your explanations won't bring back the patients who may have suffered from your negligence. Maya, who had remained silent, absorbing everything, finally found her voice. Mr. Arthur, I accept the position. Everyone turned to her. But I have a few conditions. The owner smiled. What are they? First, I want all employees unjustly fired in the last 2 years to be rehired if they so wish. Second, I want to implement a protocol where every patient, regardless of their social condition, receives the same standard of care. And third, Maya looked directly at Dr. Vance. I want all department heads to undergo training on medical ethics and patient-centered care. Mr. Arthur clapped his hands. Perfect. Your conditions are accepted. Dr. Vance tried to protest again. This is absurd. I will not submit to training given by a mere nurse. Doctor, said Mr. Arthur, his voice firm and final, you are relieved of your duties at this hospital. Immediately. The tension in the room was palpable. Dr. Vance looked around, seeking support, but all the employees averted their gaze. You'll regret this, he muttered, before stomping out of the room. After the former Chief of Staff's departure, the atmosphere became lighter. Mr. Arthur addressed everyone again. Now I'd like the new Director of Patient Advocacy to present her first directives. Maya took a deep breath. She still couldn't quite believe what was happening, but she knew she had a unique opportunity to make a difference. Well, she began, her voice still a bit shaky, the first thing we will implement is a triage system based solely on medical urgency. It doesn't matter if the patient has private insurance or uses the public health service, if they are rich or poor. Priority will always be determined by the severity of the case. The employees present began to murmur their approval. Second, continued Maya, gaining confidence, we will create a psychological support program for all staff. Working in a hospital is stressful, and well-cared-for staff provide better patient care. Daisy smiled and whispered to a colleague, Maya always had these ideas but could never speak up. And third, Maya looked directly at Mr. Arthur. I want to implement regular administration visits to the departments, but in a transparent way. Staff should know they are being evaluated for their work, not spied on in secret. Mr. Arthur laughed. Approved. But I confess, I like my surprise visits. They help me see the reality. Then you can keep doing them, but as Arthur Harrison, the owner, not in disguise. Agreed. In the following days, news of the management change at St. Jude's Medical Center spread quickly. Maya began working tirelessly to implement the promised changes. Her first action was to gather all staff dismissed in the last 2 years. Kevin, the nurse who had been fired for using too much material, was the first to return. He cried when Maya called offering his job back. Maya, you don't know what I've been through these months. No one wanted to hire me after the negative reference from Dr. Vance. That's over, Kevin. Now we're going to take care of each other. The second action was to review all patient care protocols. Maya discovered that Dr. Vance had created unofficial fast tracks for out-of-pocket patients, which included separate waiting rooms and priority for tests. This ends today, she announced in a meeting with all department heads. From now on, there is only one line, that of medical need. Dr. Richard, head of cardiology, raised his hand. Maya, I agree with the philosophy, but we have to be practical. Private insurance subsidizes the public health service care. If they leave... Dr. Richard, Maya gently interrupted him. Mr. Arthur has already assured me that the hospital's financial sustainability does not depend on discriminating against patients. We will find other ways to optimize resources without compromising ethics. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we are just starting out, now continuing. Maya's third action was to implement the staff wellness program. She hired an organizational psychologist and created support groups for different departments. You care for people in vulnerable moments, she explained in the first meeting. It's natural that this affects you emotionally. Let's learn to deal with it in a healthy way. Mrs. Mildred, the veteran nurse, raised her hand. Maya, in 15 years here, this is the first time someone has cared about our mental well-being. The changes were not easy. Some senior doctors resisted the new guidelines. Dr. Scott, from the emergency room, publicly questioned Maya's decisions. A nurse shouldn't be giving orders to doctors, he complained during a meeting. Mr. Arthur, who now regularly attended the meetings, responded, Dr. Scott, Maya is not giving medical orders. She is implementing administrative and patient advocacy policies. If you have a problem with that, you can look for another job. Doctor. Scott swallowed hard and did not question further. 3 months after taking the position, Maya faced her first major crisis. A group of private practice doctors threatened to leave the hospital if the privileges for premium insurance were not restored. "They are saying they will open their own clinic," reported Dr. Julian, the administrator, visibly worried. Maya met with Mr. Arthur in his office. "Mr. Arthur, perhaps I was too radical. I don't want to cause financial problems for the hospital." The elderly owner leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Maya, do you remember what I said about my wife?" "Of course." "Martha always said that doing the right thing is never easy, but it's always worth it. If these doctors want to leave because they can no longer discriminate against patients, let them leave. But what if we can't find replacements? We will. You'd be surprised how many quality professionals are tired of working in places where money is worth more than life." Mr. Arthur was right. Within 2 weeks, the hospital received dozens of resumes from doctors interested in working at an institution that prioritized medical ethics. Dr. Sarah Miller, a renowned cardiologist, was one of the first to apply. "I was tired of working in places where I had to choose between doing the right thing and keeping my job," she explained during the interview. "When I heard about the changes here, I knew this was where I wanted to be." The arrival of professionals like Dr. Sarah created a completely new environment in the hospital. The quality of care improved drastically, not only due to technical competence, but because of the ethical commitment of the new staff. 6 months after the changes, St. Jude's Medical Center began receiving recognition. The New York City Department of Health sent a committee to study the patient-centered care model implemented by Maya. "Miss Collins," said the committee coordinator, "patient satisfaction scores have increased by 300% in 6 months. How did you achieve this?" "It's simple," replied Maya. "We treat every patient the way we would want our own family members to be treated." The positive impact brought new challenges. Other hospitals in the network began requesting the implementation of the same model. Mr. Arthur decided to promote Maya to Regional Director of Patient Advocacy. "Maya, you've created something special here. Now we need to bring this to all our hospitals." The new position meant more responsibility, but also more opportunity to make a difference. Maya began traveling to the network's hospitals, implementing the patient advocacy protocols at each unit. In every hospital she visited, she found stories similar to her own experience. Dedicated staff being silenced by administrators concerned only with profit. Patients being discriminated against because of their social status. At Grace Riverside Hospital in Philadelphia, she found a situation that touched her deeply. Nurse Tiffany had been demoted for insisting on properly caring for a child with a disability whose parents did not have private insurance. "Tiffany," said Maya during the meeting to implement the new guidelines, "I want you to be this unit's patient advocacy coordinator." The woman began to cry. "Maya, I thought my career was over. No one respected me here anymore." "That has changed. Starting today, defending patients' rights isn't just accepted, it's required." 1 year after her dismissal for caring for Mr. Arthur, Maya found herself in a position she never imagined possible. Not only was she employed again, but she had become one of the most influential people in New York City's healthcare sector. The transformation wasn't limited to professional aspects. Mr. Arthur had become a father figure to Maya. He often invited her to dinner at his home, where they shared stories and discussed improvements for the hospitals. "You know, Maya," he said during one of these dinners, "my Martha would be so proud of what you're doing." "I'm sure your father would be too," she replied, looking at a photo on the table. "You told me he was an ambulance driver, right?" "He was. He always said that every life he saved was worth more than any salary." "He was right, and you're proving that every day." The close relationship with Mr. Arthur did not go unnoticed by the other staff. Some, especially those who had been close to the old regime of Dr. Vance, they started spreading rumors that Maya had taken advantage of the situation. "She only got the position because she seduced the old man," murmured Dr. Lawrence, one of the few doctors who still resisted the changes. The rumors reached Maya's ears through Daisy, who was outraged. "Maya, do you want me to speak with Mr. Arthur? This is unfair." "No, Daisy, let it be. Those who know me know the truth, the rest doesn't matter." But the rumors began to affect Maya's work. Some staff started questioning her decisions, insinuating she only had authority due to favoritism. The situation reached a breaking point when Dr. Lawrence confronted Maya publicly during a meeting. "Director," he said, emphasizing the title with sarcasm, "don't you find it strange that someone without a higher education degree is giving guidelines to specialist doctors?" The silence in the room was awkward. Maya felt all heads turned toward her, some with expectation, others with embarrassment. "Dr. Lawrence," she replied, keeping her calm, "my authority doesn't come from my academic background. It comes from the results we've achieved together these past few months." "Results?" he laughed. "The only results I see are competent doctors leaving and standards of excellence being compromised." "Competent doctors?" Mr. Arthur's voice echoed through the room. No one had noticed his arrival. "Dr. Lawrence, competent doctors don't discriminate against patients based on their social condition." The doctor paled. "Mr. Harrison, I didn't mean to—" "Doctor, I've been observing your resistance to the changes implemented by Maya. I'd like to understand your reasons." Dr. Lawrence tried to explain himself, but his words came out jumbled and senseless. Mr. Arthur listened patiently and then addressed everyone present. "I want to make one thing very clear. Maya Collins does not hold her position due to favoritism. She holds it because she demonstrated leadership qualities that many of us, myself included, took years to develop." He turned specifically to Dr. Lawrence. "And if any of you have problems receiving guidance from someone without a medical degree, I remind you that hospital administration and medical practice are different competencies. Maya is making our hospitals function better, and that benefits all of us." After the meeting, Dr. Lawrence sought out Maya in private. "Maya, I want to apologize. I think I was being unfair." "Dr. Lawrence, I understand your frustration. Change is difficult for everyone, but we need to work together. You're right, and I must admit the patients are more satisfied. And the staff, too. That's no coincidence." The conversation marked a shift in Dr. Lawrence's attitude and that of other resistors. Gradually, opposition to Maya's policies diminished, replaced by collaboration. 2 years after her dismissal and subsequent rehiring, Maya was attending a National Hospital Administration conference when she received an unexpected phone call. "Maya, it's Dr. Julian. You need to come back urgently." "What happened?" "It's Mr. Arthur. He fell ill during a meeting." Maya's heart raced. She cancelled all conference activities and took the first flight to New York City. Arriving at the hospital, she found Mr. Arthur in the ICU, conscious but visibly weak. "Ah, my dear has arrived," he said, smiling upon seeing her. "Mr. Arthur, how are you feeling?" "I've been better. But don't worry, it was just a scare." Dr. Sarah, who was caring for him, explained the situation to Maya. "It was a severe arrhythmia, similar to the one he had when he arrived here in disguise. His heart is weaker than we thought." "But will he be okay?" "With proper care and lifestyle changes, yes, but he needs to slow down his work pace." In the following weeks, while Mr. Arthur was recovering, and Maya temporarily took on some of his administrative responsibilities, it was then that she discovered the true extent of the hospital empire he had built. "Mr. Arthur," she said during a visit, "I had no idea the network was so large. It's 15 hospitals in 5 states. And they all need the changes you implemented here. That will take years. That's exactly why I need you. Maya, I want you to take over as executive director of the entire network." Maya was speechless. "But I don't have the experience for that." "You have something better. Vision and the right principles. The rest can be learned." The offer represented an enormous challenge, but also a unique opportunity to impact the lives of thousands of patients and staff. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But don't take too long. These hospitals need you." That night, Maya called her mother to tell her about the offer. "Honey, do you remember what your father always said? That saving lives is the most important work in the world." "That's right. Now you have the chance to not only save individual lives, but to improve an entire system. Your father would be proud." The next morning, Maya returned to the hospital with her decision. "Mr. Arthur, I accept, but I have one condition." "What is it?" I want to implement a training program in compassionate leadership. We'll train a new generation of hospital administrators who put patients first. Perfect. Let's call it the Martha Harrison Institute for Patient Advocacy. The creation of the institute marked a new phase in Maya's career. She began traveling across the country, not only implementing changes in the network's hospitals, but also training professionals from other institutions. Her lectures on humanizing medical care became a national reference. Universities began inviting her to speak about ethical hospital administration. Medicine lost some of its humanity when it became just a business, she would say in her lectures. Our role is to restore that humanity without compromising technical excellence. 3 years after taking over as executive director of the network, Maya received a call that would change her life again. Miss Collins, this is the Department of Health and Human Services. We would like to invite you to a meeting in Washington, D.C. What about? We want to discuss implementing your hospital humanization model on a national scale. The meeting in Washington, D.C. was surreal. Maya found herself sitting at a table with ministers and health secretaries from across the country, discussing public policy. Miss Collins, said the secretary, the patient satisfaction indicators from your network's hospitals are extraordinary. We want to understand how we can replicate this in the public health service. Mr. Secretary, it's not something that can be achieved overnight. It's a cultural change that requires time and investment. We are willing to make that investment. The country needs hospitals like yours. Maya spent the following weeks developing a national hospital humanization plan. The project would involve training thousands of professionals and restructuring protocols in hundreds of public hospitals. When she returned to New York City to present the project to Mr. Arthur, she found him more excited than she had seen in months. Maya, do you realize the scale of what's happening? You are about to transform public health in the United States. We are about to transform it, Mr. Arthur. This started when you had the courage to disguise yourself to see the reality of your hospitals. And you had the courage to risk your job to care for a stranger. The implementation of the national program took 2 years. Maya traveled tirelessly, training teams, establishing protocols, monitoring results. The challenges were enormous. She faced resistance from administrators accustomed to the old system, a lack of resources in some locations, and even threats from groups interested in maintaining the status quo. But the results justified all the effort. Patient satisfaction scores for the public health service improved by an average of 200% in the hospitals that implemented the program, so complaints about discrimination decreased drastically. On the 5th anniversary of her firing and subsequent rehiring, St. Jude's Medical Center organized a party in Maya's honor. Present were staff from across the network, health authorities, and hundreds of patients whose lives had been impacted by the implemented changes. 5 years ago, Mr. Arthur addressed the crowd, I entered this hospital in disguise and found a young nurse who taught me the true meaning of medicine. Today, that same young woman is transforming the health of an entire country. Maya took the stage, moved. She looked at the audience and saw familiar faces. Daisy, Kevin, Mrs. Mildred, Dr. Sarah, Dr. Lawrence, and so many others who had been part of this journey. 5 years ago, I was fired for doing what I thought was right. Today, I know that firing was the best gift I ever received, because it led me to discover that one person can indeed make a difference, even when everything seems impossible. She paused, emotional. But none of this would have been possible without each one of you, without Mr. Arthur, who had the humility to go undercover to understand the reality, without the staff who had the courage to speak the truth, without the patients who trusted us during the changes. The audience rose in applause. And most of all, Maya continued, without my mother, who taught me that doing the right thing is always worth it, even when it's hard. Mrs. Evelyn, now 65 and proud of her daughter, wiped tears from her eyes. After the party, Maya and Mr. Arthur walked through the hospital corridors, observing the quiet night shift. You know, Maya, sometimes I think about how it would have been if I hadn't decided to make that undercover visit. Someone like you would have eventually discovered the problems, perhaps, but you would have remained just a nurse submitting to unfair orders. I was never submissive, Mr. Arthur. I was just waiting for the right opportunity to act. They stopped in front of the room where it had all begun 5 years earlier. "Maya, can I confess something?" "Of course." "I didn't choose to come to this hospital by chance that day. I had received several complaints about Dr. Vance, but I needed evidence." Maya looked at him, surprised. "You planned it all?" "I planned the visit. I didn't plan to find someone like you. That was a gift from fate. So it wasn't a complete coincidence. The best things in life rarely are complete coincidences. They are the result of prepared people finding the right opportunities." 5 years after that morning she was fired, Maya Collins had become one of the most influential people in the healthcare field in the United States. Her story inspired thousands of professionals to defend their principles, even when it meant risking their jobs. The hospital humanization model she developed was adopted in several Latin American countries. Universities created chairs in humanized hospital administration. Her biography became required reading in medical and nursing courses. But for Maya, the greatest pride was not in the awards or recognition. It was in the letters she received daily from patients thanking her for the humanized care, from staff who felt valued in their work, from families who no longer had to face discrimination in hospitals. Mr. Arthur, now 75 and retired from operational activities, continued to be her advisor and friend. Her heart condition was stable, controlled by the same care protocols she had helped implement. "Do you know the irony of all this, Maya?" he said during a lunch at his home. "What?" "I bought these hospitals wanting to avenge the loss of my Martha. I ended up finding a daughter." Maya smiled, her eyes glistening. "And I was fired thinking I had lost everything. I ended up finding my life's purpose." The story of Maya Collins became legend at St. Jude's Medical Center. New employees learned about the nurse who risked everything to care for a stranger and ended up transforming American medicine. On the wall of the main reception, a golden plaque summarized the philosophy that governed the institution. "Here, every patient is treated as we would want our own family members to be treated." Maya Collins, director. Daisy, now nursing supervisor, often told the story to new staff. Maya always said nursing is more than a profession. It's a calling. She proved that when she chose what was right over what was easy. Kevin, who had become materials coordinator, added, "And Mr. Arthur proved that great businessmen can have great hearts. Together they changed everything." Mrs. Mildred, now retired but a frequent visitor, always concluded these conversations the same way. "In 40 years of nursing, I've seen a lot, but I've never seen a transformation like the one this girl sparked." She reminded us of why we chose to care for people. On the 10th anniversary of the changes, St. Jude's Medical Center was recognized by the World Health Organization as a model of excellence in hospital humanization. Maya was invited to present her experience at an international conference in Geneva. "My story began with a simple choice," she told an audience of healthcare professionals from 50 countries, "choosing to care for a patient in need, even when it cost me my job." Sometimes the greatest transformations are born from the smallest acts of courage. When she returned from the conference, Maya found a surprise waiting in her office. It was a photo album prepared by the hospital staff, showing all the important moments of the last 10 years. The first photo was from the day of her rehiring, with her still in shock next to Mr. Arthur. The last was from the previous week, showing her cutting the ribbon at the opening of the 100th hospital in the network to implement the humanization protocol. 10 years, she murmured, flipping through the album. "And this is just the beginning," said Mr. Arthur, entering the office. "I have a proposal for you." "What now?" "The government is creating a National Office of Patient Advocacy and Medical Ethics. Guess who they want as the first director?" Maya laughed. "Mr. Arthur, I barely have time to manage our network." "That's exactly why. You need a bigger challenge." "And you? Will you be all right without me around?" "Maya, you've created something bigger than both of us. This will keep growing no matter where you are." The offer to be the National Director of Patient Advocacy and Medical Ethics represented the ultimate recognition of her journey. She would be responsible for implementing humanization policies in all public hospitals across the country. After much reflection, Maya accepted the position. Her inauguration was marked by a speech that summarized her life and work philosophy. I learned that caring for people is not just a profession, it's a responsibility for all of us. A humanized hospital is not just one that cures diseases, but one that heals the soul of those who are suffering. Mr. Arthur, present at the ceremony, whispered to Mrs. Evelyn, "Your daughter is going to change healthcare in the United States." "She already has," replied the proud mother. "Now she'll just expand what she already started." As national director, Maya implemented policies that benefited millions of Americans. The National Hospital Humanization Program became a global benchmark, studied and replicated in dozens of countries. 15 years after being fired for caring for a patient, Maya Collins had become one of the most respected people in global healthcare. But she never forgot her origins or the values that had guided her from the start. Every year, on the anniversary of her firing and subsequent rehiring, she returned to St. Jude's Medical Center to have dinner with Mr. Arthur and remember how it all began. "Do you regret anything, Maya?" he asked during one of these dinners. "Just one thing." "What?" "That it took me so long to find my true calling." "It didn't take any time at all. Your calling was always to care for people. You just needed to discover you could do it on a larger scale." Maya Collins's story spread far beyond hospitals. It became a symbol that an ordinary person, acting with courage and principles, could transform entire institutions. Schools across the country began including her biography in lessons on citizenship and ethics. Her most famous phrase, "Doing the right thing is never a mistake even when it seems to be," was adopted as a motto by countless organizations. St. Jude's Medical Center, where it all began, became a pilgrimage site for healthcare professionals who wanted to understand how to implement humanizing changes in their own institutions. Daisy, now the director of nursing, often received visitors interested in seeing the birthplace of the revolution in hospital humanization. "The transformation didn't happen overnight," she would explain. "It was the result of a lot of hard work, persistence, and most importantly, the courage of one person who decided to do what was right." On the 20th anniversary of the changes, a memorial dedicated to the transformation in humanization was inaugurated at the hospital. Its centerpiece was a statue depicting a nurse caring for an elderly patient with a plaque that read, "In memory of all who chose care over convenience." Mr. Arthur, now 85 years old and still active despite his advanced age, spoke at the inauguration. "This statue doesn't represent just Maya and me. It represents all healthcare professionals who, every day, choose to put patient well-being above their own interests." Maya simply reminded us that this choice is possible and necessary. Maya, now 48 and at the peak of her career as National Secretary, was moved upon seeing the statue. 20 years ago, I was just a nurse trying to do her job right. Today, I know that each of us has the power to transform the world around us, one act at a time. The memorial's inauguration ceremony was broadcast nationally and became a milestone in the history of American healthcare. It represented not just the recognition of an individual journey, but the consolidation of a new way of thinking about medicine. After the ceremony, Maya and Mr. Arthur walked once more through the hospital corridors as they had 20 years before. "You know, Maya, sometimes I wonder if my Martha would be proud of what we've accomplished. I'm sure she would be. And my father too. They would be proud not just of the results, but of the path we chose to get here. A path based on care, respect, and human dignity. Exactly, and that's the legacy we're going to leave." As they walked, they observed the hospital's activity. Nurses tenderly caring for patients, doctors patiently explaining procedures, family members being welcomed in moments of distress. "Look at this, Maya. 20 years ago, this corridor would have been very different. And it will be even better in the next 20 years. The seeds we planted are sprouting in a new generation of professionals. A generation that learned that medicine is, above all, humanity." End of the story. Now tell me what you thought of this story of overcoming and transformation. Do you believe that a courageous attitude can truly change everything around you? Leave your comment sharing your opinion, and don't forget to leave a like if the story touched your heart. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one.